Well, first of all, let me thank you very much, Edith, for your warm welcome and giving us the opportunity to speak. Perhaps I will take the point of view of a player which is take you perhaps a bit out of Europe first, what we see outside, in being present in 130 countries, what's happening, and the way people look at Europe. And but also I will take advantage of the having been the rapporteur in the CEO roundtable launched by Neelie Kroes last year to try and find solutions out of this investment crisis that we're facing, and give you perhaps some of the conclusions and some of the way forwards. First of all, I would like to get rid of three very wrong ideas that we sometimes hear at a time where we are about to decide whether or not Europe is going to have a Connect Europe facility for ICT. The first one is that there's no urgency in our sector. Everything is fine. There's absolutely no need. It's a self-sufficient industry, rich players, no need for more money. Third wrong idea, all the initiative, it should all be left to the private sector. I myself made this mistake 15 years ago when I was councillor to the Minister of Telecom in 1996, having set up an independent regulator, having said that now competition and the private sector could do it all. No, you can't do it. You can't do it with public vision, with the public view. That does not mean with public investment necessarily, but it means you need you can't just leave it out to the private sector to reach out in a timely and sufficient manner, and especially at a time where never in 15 years have we had this need so badly of a huge investment wall in front of us. Never in 15 years as much. Why? Why is that? Why is there a need? Because we have not anticipated well the explosion of the mobile data. Mr. Jobs has pulled into our hands tablets and things that we globally now have to live with and that are crucially needed, but without being too long, the industry anticipates mobile data growth by a factor of 25 in the coming 5 years. We have not anticipated this. The cloud is coming, and the cloud, whatever we say, whatever, and I know we are all great fans of technology neutrality, but we'll need enhanced capacities both in the core, in the backhaul, and in the access. Now, it's a paradox, because this investment is badly needed at a time when of course, we see investment decrease versus the rest of the world. And we see Europe not investing heavily enough. Difficulty with operators to finance their networks. So absolutely no chance of them getting a loan in a timely manner in the way we have built networks as usual. Something must change. And I think what it is about is not necessarily to get fibre everywhere in the next 5 years all around Europe. Of course not. But it's certainly to get fibre deeper into the networks. Mobile networks won't be. We won't have mobile broadband if we don't have smaller cells, because the spectrum will not be sufficient, and behind these smaller cells we will need backhaul, enhanced backhaul. So I usually say the future of mobile is also fixed. So we don't oppose the two. We need everything. We need both. Now, I think that on 80% of the EU territory, what we need is an enhanced also access network. And as we all know, it's an essential infrastructure. And what is at stake is gradually, it will take time, the replacement of our old copper loop. Now, I think what we need, and this was the purpose of this initiative, is as we see the difficulties of the industry to get timely investment, and I can tell you that running sometimes to very remote parts of the world, it's not wrong today to say that Europe is lagging behind in the dynamic of investment, unfortunately. Europe is lagging behind, and just a few numbers. I mean, today there are 180 million kilometers of fiber laid in the world. Out of these 180 million, 105 are laid in Asia Pacific. And I can tell you now the ratio of next generation access broadband versus per population is higher in some regions of the world than it is here. What can we do? What can we do? the initiative that we run gives us some hope, because it's not so much about funding. It's about business models, it's true. It's about industry structure. And it's also, we have seen that we have long-term investors ready to invest, but we don't know them. They're not here in the room. They're not here. Why? These long-term infrastructure funds rank our sector number 10, after the energy sector, the railroad, the transportation sector, the ports, the water, the waste. And telecom is number 10. Now, I think the challenge, if we have a CEF, is to attract these long-term investors in our sector. And how can we do this? That's a good question, but what should CEF be to unleash the private long-term infrastructure investors? It's not about public money. Of course, a little public money will be needed to reach out to the most rural areas. But I think what we need is for CEF, if we have any, for our sector, to be a leverage tool dedicated to an industrial policy and an industrial vision of what it should be. To be focused more on reduction of market risk rather than subsidy. To increase the liquidity by enabling project finance on special purpose vehicles and probably for new investment models. To be a catalyst to attract private long-term investors. It should not be a sprinkle funding, and I think we're not asking for a lot of subsidy. Now, I think it should be also, and all these project bonds that we talk about, should be underpinned by a certain vision of what we want our industry to be. And I think we, having the honor to serve as I said, in a company present in 130 countries, we see very innovative new investment models in some parts of the world. And New Zealand, I'm not talking about Australia, which is the creeping back public investment back into the access. But New Zealand has a rather interesting model. And of course, New Zealand is far, but what I wanted to share with you tonight is, yes, we need some vision, a global vision. We do need some money, not necessarily subsidy, but long-term investment in our sector, and we need to have the courage to build the appropriate investment vehicles. Together with our industry, with all of the players in the industry, so that Europe keeps its place in the world. For the moment, I can tell you when I travel around that it's not necessarily the case, and that I sometimes have the impression that we rest on the laurels of our past successes, being the 2G or the 3G, and our old copper networks. Copper can have a new life, but it also means putting fiber a little deeper into the network, whatever we think. And it also means coming to the evidence that perhaps the dogma of our infrastructure-based competition should be changed a little bit. On 80% of the European territory, we will not be able to afford two parallel fiber networks. The first layer, the essential infrastructure, is 70-80% of the cost. We cannot afford to have duplication. Everybody must join forces to co-invest this common essential infrastructure, which will underpin all the services above. And I can tell you, if we don't get it timely enough, then there might be some consequences, not only for industry, for the vendors like us, but also for all the innovative services that we deserve and that Europe deserves. Thank you very much.